Alright, Chiefs Kingdom, let's talk. Brett Veach just dropped a reality check. It's going to be a challenge just to win the division next year. That's not something you hear every day from the architect of a dynasty. So, what does he see coming? Let's break it down. First, let's rewind a bit. The Chiefs dominated the regular season, finishing 15-1 in games where starters played, another AFC championship, another Super Bowl appearance. It's what we've come to expect. But let's be real, that Super Bowl loss stung. The dynasty is still alive, but the NFL evolves fast, and staying on top is never easy. Now, here's the real question. Are the Chiefs still clear favorites in the AFC West? Think about it. Teams around the league are gearing up to take them down. The Broncos, Chargers, and Raiders have all been making moves, and with free agency and the draft on the horizon, the gap could close even more. Speaking of staying on top, the NFL Combine is happening right now. This is where the Chiefs front office starts laying the groundwork for the future. Every year, Veach and his team search for that next hidden gem, the kind of player who can step up when it matters most. So, what are the biggest obstacles ahead? What's Veach worried about? Let's dive into the key roster decisions that could shape the future of this team. But first, let's settle something. Do you think the Chiefs are still the top dogs in the AFC West? Drop your take in the comments. Now, let's get into the real challenge Brett Veach is facing, keeping this roster elite while dealing with free agency. Every off-season, tough decisions have to be made, and this one is no different. First, let's talk about the Chiefs' pending free agents. Some big names could be on their way out, and that's where things get tricky. Chris Jones, L'Jarius Sneed, and Willie Gay Jr. are all up for new contracts. Jones is the heart of the defense, but can the Chiefs afford to give him another massive deal? Sneed is a shutdown corner, and we all know how valuable that is in today's NFL. So, what's the move here? That brings us to the salary cap. The Chiefs have been playing a delicate game, locking in Mahomes long-term while still keeping enough flexibility to surround him with talent. But contracts pile up fast. Can they afford to keep everyone? Probably not. So, here's the question for you. If you were in charge, who's the one free agent the Chiefs must re-sign at any cost? Let me know in the comments. And while we're on the topic of roster building, Veach always has a few tricks up his sleeve in free agency. Even if they lose a big name or two, they'll be looking at potential replacements. Some key positions to watch: wide receiver, offensive line, and pass rusher. Names like Mike Evans, Calvin Ridley, or even a veteran offensive tackle could be on the radar. But again, the Chiefs won't just be throwing money around, they have to be smart. At the end of the day, championship teams aren't just built through free agency. The draft is where Veach has really made his mark, and this year will be no different. So, what's the plan for the 2025 draft? Let's get into it. Free agency is important, but if there's one thing Brett Veach has proven, it's that the draft is where championships are built. The Chiefs have consistently found impact players in later rounds, and 2025 will be another big test. So, what's the strategy this time? Well, if we look at Veach's past drafts, he loves finding hidden gems. Whether it's a late-round pass rusher or an offensive lineman who becomes a starter, he always seems to hit on value picks. But this year, there are some clear needs the Chiefs can't ignore. One of them, offensive line. Protecting Mahomes has to be priority number one. Last season, we saw flashes of inconsistency up front, and in a division loaded with pass rushers, that's a problem. If the Chiefs go O-line in the first round, a guy like J.C. Latham or Amarius Mims could be a perfect fit. Another big need, wide receiver. The young guys showed promise, but adding another reliable target could make this offense unstoppable. A big-bodied receiver like Rome Odunze or a route technician like Keon Coleman would give Mahomes another weapon to dominate. But let's not forget the defensive side of the ball. If Chris Jones leaves, D-line instantly becomes a top priority. Or maybe they go after another cornerback to keep the secondary elite. So, let me ask you, if you were Brett Veach, what's the move? Do you draft an O-lineman or a defensive lineman in the first round? Vote in the comments. Whatever the plan is, one thing's for sure, the Chiefs will need to nail this draft to stay on top. But even with the right additions, there's still a bigger challenge ahead, keeping Patrick Mahomes playing at an MVP level. Let's talk about that next. Alright, let's be real. As long as Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback, the Chiefs are contenders. But even the best need help, and last season showed us exactly where the challenges are. One of the biggest concerns: Mahomes had less time to throw than ever before. Defenses were getting to him faster, forcing him into quick decisions and limiting those deep, explosive plays we're used to seeing. So, how do the Chiefs fix this? Option 1. Reinforce the offensive line. If the Chiefs draft a top-tier tackle or sign a veteran in free agency, Mahomes gets more time in the pocket, and that changes everything. We've seen how dominant this offense can be when the O-line holds up. Just look at the Super Bowl win against the Eagles. Option 2. Give Mahomes better weapons. Last season, the wide receiver core had its ups and downs. Rashee Rice stepped up, but outside of him, there wasn't a true, consistent playmaker. Imagine if the Chiefs added a top WR through the draft or free agency. Suddenly, defenses can't just key in on Kelce anymore. So, what's the bigger priority? Do the Chiefs need to focus on protecting Mahomes or getting him more weapons? Drop your take in the comments. No matter what, one thing is clear: this team has to keep evolving. And that brings us to the final question. Are the Chiefs still kings of the AFC West, or is their reign in danger? Let's break it down. For years, the AFC West has belonged to the Chiefs. But is that about to change? The Broncos, Raiders, and Chargers aren't just sitting back, they're making moves. Denver is still figuring out its quarterback situation, but with Sean Payton at the helm, you know they won't stay down for long. Could this finally be the year they get it together? The Raiders? They're a wild card. New coach, new system. Will it finally click, or will they stay stuck in the rebuild cycle? One big move at quarterback could change everything. And then there are the Chargers. With Jim Harbaugh now running the show, this is the biggest threat to the Chiefs' dominance. Harbaugh knows how to build a tough, disciplined team, and with Justin Herbert at QB, the Chargers could be a real problem. So, what do the Chiefs need to stay ahead? Brett Veach has to keep making the right moves. Mahomes has to stay at his best. And this team needs to keep that championship mindset. But now, I want to hear from you. Are the Chiefs still kings of the AFC West, or do you see a new team taking over? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to stick around because the off-season is just getting started, and there's plenty more to talk about.